Hey y'all, I'm Jen from Squizito. Welcome to the Now We're Cooking Olive Oil show. Today I'm going to make kale for you 3 different ways. I have a lot of people that say they don't like kale or they want to like kale, and once I give them these recipes, they always come back and say that they love it like this. So if you're one of those people that want to like kale, or if you're one of those people that already love kale, I hope you try these recipes. They're really good. So the first recipe I'm going to get started on is the roasted kale. So the items that I use for this is the garlic oil and the pomegranate balsamic. Also, we need the Seasonello sea salt. We're going to use this on all of our recipes. The second recipe I'm going to make is a kale salad. And so I use the Tuscan olive oil and the Neapolitan herb balsamic for that recipe, and the Seasonello sea salt. The third recipe I'm going to make are kale chips. And if you've ever had kale chips that just taste funny, I never really was a big fan of kale chips, but once I made them with Tuscan olive oil and Seasonello sea salt, I love kale chips. So I'm going to show you how to make those too. All of these are easy. All of these can be used with kale that you buy from the farmer's market or kale that you buy from the grocery store that's already cut up. As a matter of fact, for the kale, the roasted kale that I'm going to make, I actually purchased some kale, some organic kale that was already washed and chopped up, and so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's get started on the roasted kale. First thing, you get your cast iron pot. So I use a big heavy-duty cast iron pot, and you have to have a lid. If you use a pot other than cast iron, you're going to need to cut your time down. Otherwise, it'll be super mushy. So I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. So you just drizzle the garlic oil, and if you have jewelry, you might want to take it off so it doesn't get all gunky in there. As a matter of fact, I think I'll just go ahead and take my watch off too, because that way I won't have to smell garlic all the time. So you start drizzling the garlic oil, and then you just massage it with your hands. Not too much, just get the oil all in there. So massage it, and you're gonna, as you start to massage it, you're gonna notice that of course it gets smaller and you're gonna need more oil. So as you get it turned and get to the bottom, kind of drizzle a little bit more. I'm gonna guess that I use, it depends of course on how much you like too, how much you're cooking, but I'm gonna guess that I use about 6 or 7 tablespoons for this recipe. So you just get the garlic oil and the Seasonello sea salt all on all of the leaves, and you don't add any water to this recipe. So this is a fun way to make kale without boiling it to death. Or if you just aren't a real big fan of kale, when you cook it in the garlic oil, it really milds the flavor out some. So get that all mixed in there until it's coated well, and it looks like it is. Now, if you don't know if it's salty enough, just taste it. To me, you know me. If you've watched any of my videos before, I always need more salt, especially the Seasonello sea salt. So that's pretty good. It's coated well. And then we're just going to put the lid on it and put that in the oven and bake it on 400 degrees for 55 minutes. It's about the easiest kale recipe you can ever make. I'm going to wash my hands and get that in the oven. Okay, the second kale recipe I'm going to make is the Tuscan Kale Salad. And we have a whole video on how to make this. I'll link it below. But my friend Natalee from the Natural Food Store makes this salad, and I love it. So you're going to need, let me remind you, the Tuscan olive oil and the Neapolitan herb balsamic for this salad. So I have, I've got my kale, and it's already washed and chopped up into bite-sized pieces. If you want it smaller, chop it whatever size you want. And so you just drizzle Tuscan olive oil, and you put Seasonello sea salt on this. This one requires you to massage a lot more than the roasted kale recipe. That one will cook down. This one you want to massage for at least 3 minutes, and you massage it hard. Like get a real deep massage and get that kale really smashed down, and it will make it super tender. So after we get this massaged down, we're gonna warm up the Neapolitan herb balsamic with some dried cranberries, and then we're gonna pour that over the top. And I tell people all the time that my husband is a ranch, extra ranch person, but he loves this salad, and he'll eat this salad any day over a ranch salad. So that's pretty impressive. And if you have anybody at home that doesn't really like sweet dressings, they like more of the savory dressings, the Neapolitan herb balsamic would be a good choice for them to try because it's a more savory balsamic. Okay, so that's probably pretty good. So that's kale it's smashed down to probably half from what we started with. So that's ready to go. Again, let me wash my hand. The next thing to do is add the Neapolitan herb to a small saucepan and just warm it on the stove over medium to about medium heat until it starts to reduce a little bit. You'll see the steam come up, and then we'll add our dried cranberries. And if you don't like dried cranberries, don't add dried cranberries. I have used oranges. You can use any fruit. I just like the dried cranberries, and I really like the oranges too. I'll get the little cuties and tear those into little pieces and add those to the salad. So it just depends on what I'm in the mood for and what I've got on hand. So I just happen to have some dried cranberries, so I'm going to use those because it's easy, and I don't have any oranges. So that's what's happening tonight. And in our recipe, we use the dried cranberries. And also, we top it with nuts, and so whatever nuts you like. If you like pine nuts, if you like walnuts, if you like pecans, I'm using pecans because that's what I like. So you can make this your own. So the Neapolitan herb balsamic is warming. I have my cranberries ready to go on that. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to make the kale chips. Okay, for kale chips, if you've never used fresh kale and you've never chopped it up, you're going to want to take the stems off. And I've already done this on this kale. I've already taken the stems off, the big stems. And then you're going to want to chop this however big pieces you want. Now, if you don't mind having a big handful and cramming it into your mouth, that's fine. If you would rather have it small pieces, small bite-sized pieces, then I would suggest you take the kale and put it into a stack like this, and then chop it up a little bit and make it a little bit smaller. Now, I don't chop it as small as I would if I was going to make the kale salad, because I do like to pick these up with my hands and eat them like a chip. It's very rewarding, especially if you like chips. So this is a fun way to get the crunch and the yummy taste of chips and the health. And who isn't trying to be healthier? I don't really know anybody that's not trying to be healthier. I know a lot of people that aren't getting healthy. I'm one of them. I try. But I'm just going to cut this in a long ways and then across, and it's in pretty good sized pieces. So I don't mind the cram. I might cut that a little bit smaller, kind of like pizza slices, like tortilla chips. Hey, let's trick ourselves. Since tortilla chips is my favorite thing in the whole wide world, let's trick ourselves and have some kale tortilla chips. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it on my pizza pan. Normally I use a cookie sheet. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna use my pizza pan this time. Get it on the pizza pan. Now the reason I'm putting it on the pizza pan first is because I wanna see how much I've got. You don't have to do that. I'm gonna put it in a bowl after I put it, now that I've got it in the pizza pan. And you don't have to do that either. You can get a big, huge pan. I just wanna make sure that I have it in a single layer and each piece has enough space around it so that it can dry out really well. So I'm probably not gonna use all this. I'm just gonna do probably about half of it. That way I'm gonna put this back on the cutting board and I'll probably do 2 batches. But now I'm gonna add the Tuscan herb oil and the the Tuscan herb oil. Added some Tuscan herb oil and some Seasonello sea salt. Now, depending on how salty you like your chips, I love salty chips. It's like the best snack ever to me, I think. So you're gonna want to get the Tuscan herb oil and the Seasonello sea salt all over these, but you don't want to really smash them. I mean, you can massage them pretty good, and just make sure and get it all over so you don't have, the salt is really chunky, so you don't have big salty chunks. Unless you like salty chunks, then leave the salty chunks. But you just massage it on there. And again, if you want to know how salty it is, if it's too salty or if it's not salty enough, just taste it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's perfect. Y'all, when these are cooked, they taste so good. If you've never found any kale chips that you like the flavor of, I urge you to try making them yourself with the Tuscan herb oil and the Seasonello sea salt, because it's life-changing. I couldn't believe the difference. So I hope you try it, even if you've never liked kale chips before. And let me know if you like it. So we got the olive oil on, now we're cooking. And we've got the Neapolitan herb balsamic is starting to reduce. Do you see the steam coming up? That means it's starting to reduce. So we're gonna add the cranberries. And that's just until the cranberries plump. I'll probably have kale in my teeth. I love eating raw kale. Here's another thing you can do. If you do the Tuscan herb oil and the Seasonello sea salt, you can actually put it on your kale, have your kale chopped up, and have it massaged onto your kale, and have it in a bag in the refrigerator. And when you get ready to want chips, the kale chips, you can pop it in the oven. And it will keep for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days in the bag, in the fridge, so that you can have them easy to just make in the oven. That's fun to have. Okay, change of plans. So since the kale is roasting in the oven and I really want to go ahead and get these kale chips going, I'm just going to use the toaster oven. And I put it on 275 degrees, and I'm just going to, my pizza pan won't fit in there. So I'm just going to transfer these over to a smaller pan. I was thinking I would just turn the oven down after I got the roasted kale out, but that didn't work out because I still have like 30 minutes left on the roasted kale, so I'm just going to go ahead and do these in the toaster oven. I probably won't be able to put as much kale on here, a smaller pan. But you really have to watch this so it doesn't burn. If it burns, it doesn't taste that good. So really watch the kale and toss it around so it can dry out. So this is going in the oven, 275 degrees. Okay, so my Neapolitan herb balsamic that's in the saucepan is starting to reduce, and the cranberries are starting to plump, so I'm going to turn that off the heat, and you can really smell it whenever it's getting done. Woo! And if you inhale it, you'll know it's starting to reduce because you will inhale vinegar. Woo, and it's strong. Okay, so we're not going to let the Neapolitan herb reduce until it's thick. We just want it to be warmed up enough to plump the cranberries. So that's about ready. Okay, so we have our Tuscan herb on our Seasonello sea salt on our kale, and we are going to just pour the Neapolitan herb and the cranberries over the top of the salad. And then we just stir that in, and it'll coat the salad really well. It is the best tasting salad you will ever have. And you can add more cranberries or less cranberries. You don't have to add cranberries, I've already said that. However many you like. But the Neapolitan herb gives it a really good balance, the sweetness and the herb flavor, and the cranberries, and then of course the nuts. If you add nuts, will give it a good balance too. And our salad is ready. All we'll have to do is plate it up and add the pecans. And then I get to taste the salad, because I have to tell you how delicious it is. Oh my gosh. I hope you try this salad. I really do, because it will change your mind about kale. If you've ever had trouble eating kale, I think massaging it is the key. So if you want to go and watch the full recipe, which, I mean, this is the full recipe too, but if you want to watch the recipe done by Natalee at the Natural Food Store in Searcy, Arkansas, where our products are, we'll link that video below. And this is just a shorter video, but it's a fantastic recipe. The day I was introduced to this salad, Natalee was eating it at the natural food store, and my son Steele asked her if he could have a bite. And he loved the salad. He actually took over her bowl and started eating it, and I was so impressed that he was eating salad, like raw kale salad, that I was like, I have to have that recipe. And that's how I got the recipe first. He loves it. Okay, so I got distracted by eating my salad, and I almost burnt the kale chips. But you can see that they are real crispy, and if you can hear that they crunch whenever you break them, and that is perfect. And you can eat them hot, or you can let them cool. They just fall apart in your mouth. They're so good. And that is how you make kale chips. Delicious kale chips that you will actually eat. Okay, so I'm going to put these in a bowl and then make another batch. It only took about 10 minutes, and they were done. And I didn't watch them, and I didn't turn them either. I got distracted eating my salad. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do an experiment on camera. Since I have some salad made with Neapolitan herb balsamic, I'm going to put some on the side over here. The salad with the Neapolitan herb balsamic on it. And we're going to see what that does. I imagine it's going to be a little sticky, but it might actually give it a little bit of a tang. We'll see. Okay, I set the timer this time so I wouldn't forget about my kale chips, but these actually turned out really, really good. Here's a testament to how good the kale chips are. Look, who loves them. Here. Whoa. You love kale chips? You love kale chips? Yum, 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 they're so good. Kale chips are so good. Okay, puppy approved, kale chips. Okay, so I got the kale chips out of the oven, the ones with the Neapolitan herb and without. And I have to say, the ones with Neapolitan herb balsamic on them aren't bad. Now, I did try them, and then I had to go brush my teeth because there's a warning for you. Don't eat kale chips on a first date. You'll have kale all in your teeth. It's terrible. But anyway, so the regular kale chips are super crispy. The ones with Neapolitan herb balsamic on them, some of them are crispy, some of them are a little sticky. I think if you cooked them a little bit longer, they would dry out, but they taste really good. So try that too. Experiment. It's so fun. And let me know if you experiment with some balsamics and some different oils on the kale chips. That's another thing. You can make kale chips and you can make this salad with any olive oil. An extra virgin olive oil, a really good quality, one of our ultra premium extra virgin olive oils would be fantastic to make kale chips with. Make sure you have seasoning though. Anything that you want to give it the flavor of. Just use what you have, and if you want to experiment with these flavors, these are the ones that I've found that I like the best. It doesn't mean that they are the best. Everybody's different as to what flavors they like. So some other flavors that would be good, if you like spicy, you could use the green chili oil for the kale chips. You could use the cilantro and onion if you wanted to give it a roasted onion flavor. Rosemary would be good too. So yeah, you could just experiment and come up with some flavors of your own. Now, I am about to get the roasted kale out of the oven and show you what that looks like. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. It's beautiful. So the top is really crispy. The kale is cooked all the way through. The kale on the bottom is done. It's soft and it's crispy and it's sizzling. And you need to serve this hot. So what I do is I put it on a plate, plate it up, and then drizzle with the pomegranate balsamic. I'll show you. I like the pomegranate balsamic. That's the one I like on it. I feel like it just gives it the perfect flavor. So I just drizzle some on, not a lot, just enough to give it the pomegranate flavor, and then you serve it up. It's fantastic. Y'all have to try these 3 recipes. I hope you do, and I hope that this will help you eat your kale, and I hope you will love kale from now on. So the Tuscan Kale Salad, the roasted kale, and the kale chips. Now you have 3 ways to try to like kale. So y'all have a tasty week. That's so good.